Part 38. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 372. Sunkai in Dongfu. In fact, Yekong doesn't eat soft or hard food. As long as he thinks he has to do it, no one can come. However, looking back, Cao Guang treats him well, accepts him as a disciple, and presents his former Dongfu as a gift. Yekong also has clear grudges. Now that Cao Guang has been talking about it for a long time, Yekong no longer insists, and he took Cao Guang's crystal of that soil generously. If this thing is made into a stone rune, its power is endless. If other people have it, they are really reluctant to take it out. Seeing Yekong's refreshing energy, Cao Guang was naturally praised. In fact, Yekong is not so generous. To be honest, he doesn't look at this stuff. Shifufu, is it awesome? Encountering Jing Guangsun is like cutting tofu, bluffing the disciples of Qi. Cao Guang put away the crystal of the soil and laughed. Actually, Lin Tianwu is really sincere. He is second. He said that as long as you return the crystal of the soil, he will give you the reward of the second. I wonder if you are willing to accept it? Accept, there is nothing unwilling to do, Ye replied unwillingly. Do-n't use it for nothing, do-n't use it yourself, it's good to give it away. Don't you see the excited eyes in little Pepper's bright eyes? Well, I will go back to my house as a teacher first. You can also go to Dongfu to have a look. If you have any questions, go directly to me in 2 months. The sunspots are going to practice in a large array. You also have to retreat and build foundations. While you are free, get close to the sunspots. Don't be embarrassed. In some cases, you need to strike the iron while it is hot, or let others cough. Ye could not help but cough, and said, Your ancestor, is there anyone you do like this? On the first day, he applauded the apprentice's husband and wife relationship. Cao Guang laughed, scratched his long beard, and walked out of the medicine garden with his hands behind his back. Cao Guang's ancestor is really disrespectful, so he asked his disciples to get close. Zhang Hui's cheeks were pink, and she did not dare to look up, and lowered her eyes and frowned. Seeing her like this, Ye de Rogue felt relieved. Cao Guang's words didn't make her hear anything. Alas, how can you eat one before you eat it? After all, the relationship between herself and Chili has been spread in Zhongli, but her relationship with her is not as good as herself and the cucumber crush. It seems that she must increase her strength to take advantage, otherwise I'm sorry for Chili. Yekong's thought is also shocking. In order to be worthy of you, I have to take advantage of you. Wu Yi, have you been wearing a bra? Didn't rub it out just now, let me study. Roll. After a while, Yekong, Zhang Hui, and Huang Zixuan stood in front of a cave house. Ye de Rogue had wanted to come alone with Zhang Hui, but did not expect that little Chili was afraid that he would move his feet manually, so he brought Huang Zixuan also. This made a wolf feel depressed for a while, and the new house was beautiful. He originally wanted to accompany the 2 girls to visit Zindongfu separately, so that they could be separated. But when the 2 came together, he had no chance. Zindongfu is under a relatively quiet cliff on the back of Yunfuzong Mountain. There are restrictions outside, so you can't see why. But when the 3 entered the ban, they felt a bright light. I saw a piece of Lingtian with lush green light. There was a pale white qi in the Lingtian. There were many spirit fruit trees outside the Lingtian, and further away, a small building was antique. The most interesting thing is that in front of the small building, there is also a pond, where the lake is clear, the scales of the waves are gently rippling, and there are some strange small fishes swimming leisurely in the water. Each part of the cave is protected by its own formation method. 7 colors of light glow under the sun, as if there are several rainbows. No wonder everyone has a cave house. This is where the immortals live. If you live here, it's not immortals but also immortals, Ye said with emotion. Think of the Earth's villa garden. Compared with its Dongfu, it is not worth mentioning shoes. Zhang Wei also came in for the first time. Looking at the scene in front of them, Little Pepper could not help but sigh, this is stronger than our master's Dongfu. Ye Hollow Road, nonsense, Cao Guang as Yun Fuzong's head ancestor, of course, is much stronger than your cave master. Well, there's a lot of aura here, and retreating here is definitely a good choice, Huang Zixuan also praised. Then I'll retreat here and build the foundation, okay, Zhang Wei asked, and felt embarrassed. The relationship has not been determined yet, so he should come to the door? Of course it is good. Anyway, I am going to go for 3 years, and I will live here for a few days, Ye Kong agreed. Huang Zixuan, who was following him, also wanted to build a foundation here, but he was embarrassed to say. After all, the relationship between Zhang Wei and Hezi is already very clear. Even if it is a half-hostess, if you come to retreat yourself, what is it? However, Ye Kong caught this point immediately, and said, Zixuan, you also have to retreat and build the foundation. It's better to be with me. It just happens to have a look after Wu Yi. Zhang Wei said, yeah, Xian, come here too. Cucumber crushed her head and nodded. She was still very happy, knowing that brother Hezi had not forgotten her, and still cared for her so naturally, she was very happy. Dead spot, that's pretty much it? Huang Zixuan stole someone's arm secretly, but just happened to be caught by Ye Kong's soft little hand, kneaded it in her hand, and her fingertips were still moving in Huang Zixuan's palm, making the little girl shy and anxious, afraid of being good sisters. See? Yeah, there are so many spiritual fruits here, Xian, you like to eat, Zhang Wei said with a smile. Yeah, I would have rushed to pick him up a lot before. Huang Zixuan smiled and tried to pull his hand out, but a black man was holding it tight. Zhang Wei heard something wrong and looked back and asked, why don't you rush to pick it today? Isn't it afraid that brother Hezi will get angry? At this point someone had let go of his hand and grinned, yeah, why don't you pick it today? Rest assured, I won't blame you. I just want to eat it, just go pick some wine. Don't pick it because you are holding my hand. Huang Zixuan gave someone a white look and said, why, you are the son-in-law of your Dongfu, you have to pick yourself. Self-reliance, plenty of food and clothing. Come, let's all pick together, and then I'll catch some fish. Let's have a barbecue dinner tonight. Ye Kong's suggestion was endorsed by the two girls. The fruit trees are so high, actually, you can't use flying in Dongfu, let's use a magic weapon. Regarding this reckless behavior of Little Pepper's, Ye quickly stopped, you want to destroy my fruit forest. How powerful your magic weapon is, really killing chickens with a bull sword. What then? Both girls looked over. Simple, I pick you. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 373. 372 Golden Carved Eggs. Of course, Ye Kong is not powerful and useless, but holding two girls, he can take advantage of the hands, not to mention, can also eat tofu in the eyes. Kangnan mainland women's skirts still have pants, but the pants are relatively loose, although the top legs cannot be seen crossing, but the calf can still see clearly. Finished the Little Peppers, the cucumber crush. In the end, Ye was so imposing that he supported a girl's feet with one hand and started to work left and right. Wow, it's cool. Ye de Hooligan held a slippery soft foot as if without a bone in one hand, looking up, looking left and right. The two girls above were picking fruits and joking, but someone wolf-like with eyes shining immediately caught the two girls' attention. Hey brother! What are you looking at? Zhang Wei blushed. This dead boy, even if he looked at himself, how could Huang Zixuan look in his pants? No, I'm mainly watching the style of your skirts, you also know, in fact, I also have extraordinary accomplishments in the reduction of women's clothing, and sometimes I unknowingly enter the research state of sleeplessness and forgetfulness. A hooligan said seriously. Cut, both girls despised at the same time, and Huang Zixuan smiled. Brother, you have a nosebleed. Although Ye Dagong was struggling to speak, the two girls just didn't believe it, and they didn't want to stand on his hands anymore. Ye Kong was annoyed. Let you pick it but you can't pick it, I'll hold you down, how can you pick it? Zhang Wei turned out to be ancient and weird, and his eyes turned, otherwise, let us both support you. If it is mortal, the two girls may have a hard time supporting a big man, but everyone is a monk, and the weight of one person is nothing. Even before the evening, all the friends have come, how can you not celebrate the joy of moving? Not only did they come, they all brought gifts. Lan Tianming brought a secular book with the words "must read in new house" on it. Ye Xian and his girlfriend Dong sent a plaque that they didn't know where to buy it. It wasn't much, and the words Li Fu on it. Cao Junfen was even more lacking in morality. He sent a piece of jade Cambodia with a saying, "Movement congratulations, 400 spirit stones, deducted from the spirit stone you borrowed last time, you still owe me 600. Ye yelled at making friends by accident. Who is this mother? Why can't she be generous? Fortunately, Zhang Wulin and Li Ruo were pretty good, and they asked for some gorgeous fire charms from a certain teacher in Niatang. Suan Huofu is actually a supplementary spell similar to the firecrackers in the world. When it is released, there is light and fire, and it can also form a colorful auspicious words in the sky. This thing is not worth it, but Ye Kong is very interested. He took a closer look and found that the principle is very simple, that is, a few small methods that mobilize the 5 elements of aura to make the aura of various colors appear in the sky. This is a spell not found in the curse book, so Ye Kong still uses the memory to keep the recipe in his heart. At this time, people came from outside, and it turned out that Lin Tianwu was the old man. The old man took back the crystal of the soil, and was very happy in his heart. Naturally, he didn't break his word, and sent the newly received inverse feather golden egg. Although the old man Lin did not like Li Hezi a bit, after all, the people returned the crystals of the soil. The old man was happy, and at the invitation of Zhangwu Yishan, he promised to stay for a housewarming wine. However, a word of a black man immediately made the old man shake his head and walk away, muttering as he walked, "Vulgar. Shameful. Drinking with these lay people is simply depraved." In fact, Ye Kong didn't want to anger the old man, it was because the egg was too big. He has seen ostrich eggs and dinosaur eggs on Earth, but who knows that this inverse feather golden carved egg is several times larger than a dinosaur egg. Ye was originally a hooligan, and when he was surprised, he couldn't say anything. "I rely on it." What a big egg! How big is the X for a female carving? It is a cow X. As soon as Ye Kong made this remark, Lin Tianwu turned his head away. Several women were flushed, and the man hurried to stand a bit, unwilling to be associated with this vulgar hooligan. However, Cao Junfen, who has just learned badly, talked bluntly, "What is Bull X? An adult inverse feather gold sculpture opens inverse feather gold, half of the mountain is covered, the size X is also large, let alone the egg you can go in and out freely, brother he's a..." When Cao Junfen said something, they fainted everyone, and then the women's spirits smashed their heads and smashed their faces. "Cao Junfen, you are too indecent." Cao Junfen grieved to the extreme, shouting holding his head, "Hey! Brother Heza said first, why would you hit me? Hey, save me. You're dead," a black man kicked insultingly, cursing, "you can go in and out as easily as you like." Everyone laughed for a while and didn't care. They were all young people, and they were all used to the vulgarity of a black man. Zhang Wei has long been accustomed to someone's vulgar language, and Huang Zixuan knows that the boy was born from a street, so he doesn't count on his swear words. But what makes everyone embarrassed is that no one knows how this inverse feathered golden eagle egg hatched and how it was collected as its pet bird. Cao Junfan stayed in Zhongli for a long time, but he only knew that the ancestors' immortals were captured. As long as you defeat it, you can recognize the Lord. But he didn't know how the egg hatched. So Yekong only put the egg in the beast room, and after Cao Junfan turned back and asked Cao Guang to make a plan. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 374. Sankai Sandong Fu Yawan. Several brilliant fire charms were cast, and the Lifu plaque from Ecchi was hung. Everyone returned to Yekong's Dongfu. Yekong took a few small fish from the pond and grilled it with the method of earth barbecue. Sprinkle some salt. Every monk has never tasted this flavor. Eat happily. The night sky, the bright moon, the barbecue fire, plus all kinds of spirits, and grilled fish that have never been eaten. Friends gathered at the moonlight-like small pond to talk about topics that everyone cares about, and everyone was in a good mood. The man and the man sat together, talking loudly while holding grilled fish. A few girls gathered near the river and whispered themselves. You sister, Xian, and sister Dong Er, don't bother you. Hezi is a rough man. As the future hostess, Zhang Wei explained the vulgar language of a black man. In fact, without her explanation, which of the female monks do not know that Li Hezi is a rough man? The phrase "don't think that a long X-bar is a man" is enough. Although the monks do not have the standard of 5 words and 4 beauty, the Kangnan mainland is still very conservative in these aspects. There are only uncultivated marketplaces. Of course, Ye was originally a market man. Huang Zixuan giggled, Sister Wu Yi, it doesn't matter, Brother Hezi is such a true disposition, we are all used to it. Li Yao and Dong Er nodded, but they both turned to look at the man, probably afraid that the man they liked became so vulgar. Then, Huang Zixuan whispered again, in fact, before he practiced, Brother Hezi was a market dweller. What he does every day is to collect protection fees in the street market. Ah! What is the protection fee? A few girls were interested and put their heads together. After Huang Zixuan explained the meaning of the protection fee, several girls suddenly turned back to look at a black man who was grilling fish, and looked back and said, those who are doing small businesses are already pitiful. How can Brother Hezi be like this? Huang Zixuan quickly explained to a black man, you don't know about it, in fact, Brother Hezi doesn't want to do this, but he was an orphan abandoned by his parents. He grew up in an orphanage, and then went down this path. If he doesn't go, he will starve to death for the protection fee. Really? I didn't expect Brother Sheazai's childhood to be so desolate. Both Li Yao and Dong Er looked back sympathetically at the black man sitting by the fire. And Zhang Wei's heart was a shocking wave. No, Yekong is the 8th master of the Ye family in the southern capital. How did he become an abandoned orphan? How can you make a living by extorting things on the street? Brother Murphy guessed wrong? The reason why the relationship between Zhang Wei and Li Hezi has developed so fast is that there is a big reason for the girl's heroic complex. Zhang Wei has been worshipped since he heard that there is a mad fan Yekong in the Kangnan continent. In addition, his brother Zhang Wulin has been thinking about Yekong all day long, and Zhang Wei is fascinated. Later, I heard Zhang Wulin confirm that Li Hezi was Yekong, and little Chili completely tied his mind to the black man, but now when I heard that Li Hezi was not Yekong, she was a bit lost. But when she twisted her cheeks and looked at the stubborn black face that was glowing red, she couldn't help laughing. Although Yekong is a hero who stands out from the sky, Brother Hezi is not a villain hiding his head. If you want to talk about the dark face of Brother Hezi, I have seen it for a long time, but I feel handsome and masculine. While the little nuns peeked at them, they heard the men pile up, and someone asked aloud, hey brother, you now have Dongfu, so you have to get nervous about Luo Yawan. It was Cao Junfan who spoke, and at the moment he did not have the demeanor of a high-ranking disciple. He sang grilled fish with a big mouth, spoke loudly, rolled up his sleeves, stood on one foot, and stepped on the stone bench with one foot. The king's grass pirate is average. Yahuan, Yekong didn't think about it, and quickly shook his head. Forget it, I'm going to practice soon, and I will also be close to build a base, so there is no need for Yawan to serve. Hey, this is bad, Zhang Wulin said with a touch of oil on his mouth. It is because you are not there that you have to take care of a girl ring. Although this cave is now looking bright, if there is no one for a long time, if you take care of it, it will be deserted. Those spirit fruit trees, as well as various herbs in Lingtian, have been looking for some years. If no one takes care of it, it will be ruined. Cao Junfan said, not only that, there is plenty of aura here. If no one cooks, it may also attract evil beasts and monsters, and it will be very troublesome at that time. Yekong thought about it and asked, where can I find the girl ring? I'm afraid mortals can't. Not long after Cao Junfan built the foundation, he also just opened a Dongfu house. He cleared up these things and whispered, that's not easy. Go to Sihatang to make a miscellaneous announcement. Immediately there will be women from outside the church. Sign up. Yekong nodded, the inner disciple is so cool. Not only does he not need to be a handyman, but he can also hire a handyman, and watching the garden is more comfortable than other handymanship. Natural female students coming to come. Of course, there is an exception for the female BT who sees Cao mooking. At this time, Cao Junfan said with a laugh that all men understood, at that time, the black brother will choose a beautiful ring with a beautiful eyebrow from the inside. Hey, meet every day, and love for a long time. Yahalo Road, can you speak quietly, aren't you looking for a pump? Looking back, sure enough, the little pepper looked at it in a bad color. Yekong then laughed, I'm afraid brother Junfan has been in love with Xiaowen in Dongfu for a long time. Hearing this explanation from the sunspots, Cao Junfan laughed, I still use it for a long time to regenerate love? Handsome guys like me, are husbands, and then. Before Cao Junfan finished, he was poured from head to toe by a bucket of cold water. Looking back, several female nuns took a bucket and stood behind them. Everyone, listen to me. Cao Junfan now knew that he could not speak. Say your head, jerk, die, another bucket of cold water washed down. Cao Junfan once again scrambled, black brother. Help. Yekong, who was sitting aside, smiled, heartily, although you said that you don't want to hit the little pepper, you still need to take precautions. Everyone was arguing and eating until it was dark. Although the monks may not necessarily sleep, it is not their job to eat and drink all night, and the chat has also talked about no new topics. So everyone left. The spirit wine was poured a lot, and there would be no drunkenness. One by one, they became even more shaken. To the reader. Sorry, chapter 3 is late today. Because of the power outage last night, Xiaoman went to work during the day and only had time code at night. Just came out, I stopped again today, and I will stop soon, Brick, thank you. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 375. 3, 7, 4 laces are loose. Then we will return to Master's Dongfu first, Zhang Wei said, holding Huang Zixuan. Unexpectedly, Lan Lanming and others coaxed, Sister Wu Yi, might as well be our blackbird while moving house, double happiness comes to the door. Zhang Wei was so ashamed, Fan kicked over and scolded, what the are you talking about, what the are you? It's awful. Zhang Wulin is more reliable, he said, haha, let us go, let Wu Yi help the brothers to clean up, my sister is very capable. Everyone knows that this is actually an excuse. What cleaning and packing? The key is the last sentence. Essence. Essence. But Huang Zixuan didn't want to go, she also wanted to help clean up and clean up. Although she is not stupid, she also understands what Wu Yi left behind, but she just has a subconscious mind and does not want to leave, she does not want to leave. Wu Yi can do and I can do. The two girls are just like one person. It can be said that they have the same brotherhood, but after all, they are also the younger daughter's family, and the mind of the younger daughter's family is also normal. However, the poor Huang Zixuan was taken away by Li Yao, the cucumber crush had only a pout, and left a resentful look. The cheapest Cao Junfan seemed to not be able to fight enough. Before leaving, he leaned in Ye Kong's ear and said, "His love is long, haha." In fact, Zhang Weihai also wanted to be alone with Li Hizi, but this morning the boy was so bold, she was a little scared. Let's clean it. As soon as everyone left, Zhang Weihai lowered his head and walked to the open space by the pond. Slightly tidy up the stone tables and chairs, and then use a whirlwind technique to blow the fishbone peels from the ground to the yellow ground in the distant fruit forest, and then another quicksand technique, nothing can be seen. For the first time, Ye Kong saw that the people who practiced immortal cleaning did so, which made him regretful that it was convenient to cultivate the immortal, and even wipe the seed away. Martial arts, you can't think of it, you are really capable. Yet a rogue stepped up, feeling like a grandma wolf, caught Little Red Riding Hood, but did not know how to get down. You can do it. Don't think I don't know. Zhang Weihai was standing by the pond. The moonlight in the water was bright, reflecting the crimsonness on Fandu's cheek. Now that you know, the buddies won't talk dumb. Ye Kong walked with a smile, of course I can, you will know. But what surprised Wu Yizhang was that a black man didn't hug her eagerly, but squatted in front of her. What is he going to do? Zhang Weihai's eyes widened and he nodded at the black-faced dude. Your laces are loose, I will help you tie it. The voice of a black man sounded. The women's shoes in the Kangnan mainland are also relatively primitive. There are no buckles, no elasticity, and they are buckled with laces. They feel a bit like dancing shoes of dancers on the earth. The process of tying shoelaces is very short, but Zhang Weihai's heart is extremely complicated. Oh my God, he came to tie his shoes, and he thought he was. Zhang Weihai's heart was full of guilt, and then he thought that although he is vulgar, he has always been a courteous gift to men and women. If anything, those are pure accidents. People laced their shoes with kindness, but they misunderstood him like that. Zhang Weihai felt that he was really abominable, too narrow-minded, and too impure. Look down at Brother Hizi. He is so attentive, considerate, and gentle. Brother Hizi. When Ye Kong stood up, Zhang Weihai apologized, and even some water mist filled his big eyes. In fact, Ye Kong had originally hugged her, but only to see her nervous, this helped her lace her shoes. Looking at Shui Guang at this moment, a pair of fascinating and apricot eyes, feelings of affection, Ye Kong naturally will not delay time. Wu Yi. Ye Kong also called softly, holding Zhang Weihai's soft waist with both hands, slowly lowering his head. Four lips meet, and the two figures cling together in the moonlight. Wu Yi, do you miss your hometown? Someone asked with a thought, and the expression made him unbearable to interrupt his emotions. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 376. Love Songs. My home is Wuguo, and there is no homesickness. Zhang Weihai smiled awkwardly, looked down at his placket, and hoped that someone would find it with conscience. Someone apparently didn't notice it, but asked again, how was my poem? That's right, Zhang Weihai said, I'm a monk, but I'm not a scholar. I don't know if it's good or not. Then I think about it for a second. A black man looked up at the moon again. Ye Kong blushed and said, in fact, I just remembered a song from my hometown again, and I sing it to you. Okay, but I can't stand any more. Okay. Ye Kong took her 2 steps, then sat on a stone bench. However, Zhang Weihai did not feel uncomfortable for a long time, and then someone slowly sang the love song, but she already attracted her. You ask me how much I love you, how much I love you. The moon represents my heart. Well, it's a bit old-fashioned, but it's practical, especially for the beauty of the other world, that shallow chanting and chanting, coupled with the beauty of the moonlight. If it doesn't fall, it's definitely not human. Zhang Weihai never expected that the boy would sing, and he sang so nicely, and the lyrics were so good. Moonlight is like silver, evenly sprinkled on someone's dark face. Silver is almost white, and Yekong's face is like Baogong, one black and white, originally very different, but at the moment, in the eyes of Zhang Weihai, this color complements the tacit understanding. Black shows someone's calmness, strength, and perseverance, but silver seems to show the tenderness of the Iron Man, and the silver brilliance makes Yekong's face more angular. Very manly face, very manly, still so attentive and singing. Wow, invincible. This night, Yekong has completely conquered Zhang Weihai's heart and mind and body. The next step is naturally to conquer the body. But very depressed. When Yeda's hooligan really wanted to be happy, Zhang Weihai timidly told him a bad news. Hey brother, no, Zhang Weihai guarded, and said shamefully, Master said, it is best to wait until the foundation is built, or do that, otherwise the foundation may fail. In fact, Yekong hasn't believed in any place men's place women's cultivation will be one step faster. He never believes that. He thinks this is nonsense. Although Yekong didn't believe it, the people in this world seemed to believe it very much. Even the real man Wan Xian had lived for more than 100 years, and still insisted on being a child man. Don't make a joke. There are so many things in the Kangnan continent. Generally, people who think that their qualifications are not good and their cultivation speed is slow will choose to be lonely in exchange for faster cultivation. He sniffed, but others believed. Zhang Weihai not only listened to Master's words, he also heard many people's words. Of course he insisted. Yekong is also inconvenient to insist. If Zhang Weihai really fails to build the foundation, he will blame him for taking care of himself. Well, how to spend a long night watching Zhang Weihai giggled and left. Someone only held his prostate and felt the pain that Grandma Wolf couldn't eat Little Red Riding Hood. But Zhang Weihai left before reminding him one more thing. Zhang Weihai thinks that if he can bring Baiji into the sect, it would be a good choice for Yekong to control the cave. Yekong thought that right, if Baiji came, at least don't have to endure such hard work. So I made an appointment to go to Surabaya city tomorrow. Of course, not all of them went to Surabaya city to pull Baiji into the section. Yekong also had to prepare some materials, and while there were still 2 months, he could make some spirit beasts for Deu. Otherwise, in 3 years, Deu will have no food. Early the next morning, it was Cao Junfen who came to visit first. This boy has also thought that Li Hezi is a good person and worthy of handing in since he put down his knot. Although he often teases him, he is still very happy and knows that Li Hezi is not malicious. And seeing Li Hezi's sincere support to several other friends, Cao Junfen also wanted to be with them from the heart. Black brother. Cao Junfen was interrupted by a black man before he said, Junfen, you can call me a black guy, don't be a black brother or a black brother. Why do I sound like a black bear? Although I am black, I haven't got a bear to the point. Cao Junfen couldn't help laughing, then the black bear. Okay, what's your name, what's the matter, Yekong asked. Found that the kid didn't hear it, Cao Junfen finally smiled proudly again, hey, Sunspot, you also eat my losses. Scolded you in person, haha, cool. Kuriko, I went back and asked my grandfather about the method of identifying the master of the inverse feather gold carving. Oh, you say it quickly. Ye was so excited that he really didn't notice the difference between Xiong and Xiong. Generally speaking, if it is an adult spirit beast, as long as you defeat it and let it look down on you, then you can use the method of identifying the Lord by blood and make it your fairy pet talking. If it is a young spirit beast, such as a newborn, you can accompany it to grow slowly for food and drink, then you do not need to confess the Lord with blood, and it will be very sincere, trouble, because the beast is more proud. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 377. 376 Chat Content. Yekong fainted. You said a long time, it is useless, Buddy is focusing on eggs, spirit beast eggs. Just say it straight, how the spirit beast eggs hatch, how to recognize the Lord, don't be useless, I have something right now, Yekong said with a wave of his hand. I said that, Cao Junfan said depressed. How did you say that? Cao Junfan said angrily, I said it clearly, the young spirit beast, such as the one born. Oh, Yekong suddenly realized that, you mean that the spirit beast egg cannot recognize the Lord, you must wait for it to hatch, then play with it, give it food and drink, some days, with feelings, I naturally recognize me as the Lord. It seems that you are not stupid, that is exactly what it is. Cao Junfan nodded, and said, the so-called day-long affection is the same reason for dealing with the newborn spirit beast. If you have a long time, you will naturally have affection. Yekong heard the anger, Cao Junfan, are you tickling again? Cao Junfan had expected such an ending. Haha laughed and ran away. He shouted from a distance, Black Bear, hatching is also very simple. Just look for a quiet place and destroy the prohibition under the egg. It came out. It was so simple. Yekong scratched his head, and then felt wrong. Hey. Cao Junfan, what did you call me just now? Is your ancestor stubborn? As soon as Cao Junfan left, Zhang Huai and Huang Zixuan came. When he saw Huang Zixuan, Ye Hollow sighed. Fortunately, there was a reminder from Cao Guang that day, if she really ate the cucumber crush, and then she failed to build the foundation, then her sin would be great. You know, building foundations also have a success rate. Except for the celestial root or the mutated spiritual root, other spiritual roots have the potential to fail. Some people may not be successful if they take 3 tablets of Zujidin. Some people have studied the reasons for the success of the foundation, but in the end, they gave up. There are too many reasons that affect the success of foundation building, such as spiritual roots, cultivation methods, sufficient spiritual power, places for foundation building, and so on. There are too many reasons why no one can tell. Brother Hiza, are you going to Surabaya city today? Huang Zixuan rushed over first and hung someone's arm. Her relationship with Yekong didn't surface, so she could pretend to be a little sister and hug his arm, and Yekong could also pretend to be an older brother and put her hand on her fart. Yes, please go to Sister Baiji to visit Dongfu Zhang Hui. I walked over with a smile. The scene last night was vivid. She was a little embarrassed to face Yekong. Xiao Junfan came just now, Yekong said, grabbing Xiao Jiao's pampered body with one hand, and said, he asked, the incubation of the inverse feather carving is very simple, just put the gold carving eggs when the ban is destroyed, after a while, the little golden eagle will come out, as long as you treat the little one better, give it food and drink, and play with it, it will recognize the Lord. Zhang Huai has a snack and is not thinking about it, he thought, why is this guy holding me so tightly in front of Xian? He won't rub my place anymore? No, you must stop him now, and you can't take Xian to pieces. At this moment, I suddenly heard someone say, martial arts, you must play with the small gold sculpture at that time, or it will not recognize you as the master. The whimpering Zhang Huai suddenly realized that Brother Hizi had to give himself the inverse feather gold carving. Is it true? This is a very good fairy bird. It's impossible for Monk Jadan to get it? This is for me? Zhang Wei still couldn't believe it, shouted, "Hey brother, you don't have a fairy bird mount, you can keep it? Then, you can take me to sit on it? Laozi has a beast, what do he want this thing to do?" Ye Kong laughed, "Wu Yi, don't be polite with me, I don't have my own reasons, besides, I don't want to give someone a coachman, when you are domesticated, I can just ride." Of course, Zhang Wei knew that this inverse feather gold sculpture was not so simple as a means of transportation. When fighting, he was still a powerful comrade in arms. So it was determined that brother Hezu really wanted to give the golden sculpture to himself. Zhang Wei was still excited, and rushed into the beast room to see his future pet. "Hezu is eccentric," Huang Zixuan said with a small mouth. "Rest assured, I'll get you a better fairy bird in the future." Zhang Wei is not here. Ye Kong is a little bit bold, and hugs Huang Zixuan's easy folding waist, speaks against her earlobe, and sniffs her intoxicating girly aroma. "How can it be so easy?" Huang Zixuan wrinkled Yao nose. In fact, she just made it difficult for a black person, and didn't really want to fight. In fact, she did not like the big raptor such as the inverse feather gold carving. "I said yes, yes, did I promise you the silk socks last time?" Huang Zixuan thought of the mercerized socks last time. Hezu said that it was not only there, but also better than Wu Yi's. He didn't believe it at first, but it was realized. "Great, but I don't like too fierce, I want a gentle and cute." "Okay," Huang Zixuan laughed. "These fairy birds are not only riding pets, they are also a helper to the enemy, of course, the more fierce the better." Ye Kong did not expect Huang Zixuan's hobby is so special. However, Ye Kong would not say that it is not good to destroy the warmth at the moment. "Okay, the grass mud horse is cute, but it can't fly," Ye Kong whispered, piercing his lips into the collar of Huang Zixuan's neck. The straight white neck was so touching that Ye could not help but want to take a few sips and poke his nose in. The incense and heat of the young girl passed over, causing people to collapse. "Grass mud horse, what is it?" Huang Zixuan's neck was very sharp, and he gave the man a big mouth, and immediately she snorted, and the pink and white face was red and moving. "The grass mud horse is an animal in our hometown." Ye also had a thick accent in his speech, and the emotional voice of the man made the woman excited. Ye Kong's large hands walked around, Huang Zixuan's body twisted back and forth involuntarily. It was really dry fire, but at the moment Zhang Wei came back with a voice. "What are you talking about?" Zhang Wei was a little puzzled. Why was Xianxian's face so red? "Hey, are you bullying Xian?" "Well, we're chatting." "That must be a messy thing, bullying Xian verbally." This time Huang Zixuan started to explain to him, "Sister Wu Yi, we are talking about grass mud horses. I said I like grass mud horses very much, and brother Hezu also said that he likes grass mud horses, and then I said, we ride grass mud horses together." Grass mud horse, Zhang Wei heard a haze, and said in his heart, why was it so swearing? Yes, stepped forward with great knowledge and grace. What we are talking about is a group of noble, elegant, and freestanding grass and mud horses growing in Malgobe. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 378. Handling Miscellaneous. Oh. Zhang Wei couldn't understand, but she couldn't express her suspicion when she looked at the old god, and had to say, you haven't finished talking, so let's go. Okay, Yahalo said, Chilly, we're not scolding you, or if the grass mud horse is mixed, maybe the stuffing will be exposed. Let's go. Yekong went out with the two girls, and when they came out, he threw a jade to each of them. This is a forbidden card to enter my cave house. You can come in and out at any time. Oh, Zhang Wei carefully closed the forbidden card. She was very happy. She gave the fairy birds and gave the door key, showing that I was the hostess. Huang Zixuan was even more exuberant. I also had the door key, and I was also the hostess. In fact, this forbidden card also has authority, and there is more than one formation in Dongfu. Of course, Yekong will not open all parts to them. It is not that they do not believe them, but that there are some things that let them know. Before the rain, Yekong first came to Sihatang. According to regulations, the disciples must be transferred from the outer hall to the inner hall. It is inevitable that Cao Muking will meet the woman who went to the outer hall, so Zhang Huai and Huang Zixuan were reluctant to go. They first went to the gate of Zone to wait for Yekong to go to the outer hall to do errands. When they came to Sihatang, all the students and sisters in the outer hall surrounded them. Although Li Hiza didn't have any friendship with them, after all, everyone was an outsider. After all, the students in the outside hall regarded him as the spiritual pillar of the outside hall. When Yekong walked into Sihatang, the disciples all looked at the 5 golden clouds on his chest. His eyes were very hot. Isn't that 3 golden clouds when I first entered the inner hall? Why is Brother Li 5? Someone asked in a low voice. Someone immediately said, you don't know that. Brother Li has worshipped his ancestor as a teacher, that is a core disciple among the core disciples. Another minor repair said, Brother Li is the miracle of our Yunfu Zongguitang. What are these golden clouds? Have you heard of the Qi practitioners and arranged for Dongfu? Or is it one of the most abundant Dongfus in the whole aura? Listening to others' comments, Yekong Li is still very cool. He is not a master of Confucianism who talks about temperament, but he is a hooligan. When you are happy, you will laugh, and when you are angry, you will be angry. The villain learned. Cao Muking stepped out of the apse, and saw someone throwing his arm and walking over in 3 steps. Since becoming a monk, someone's hooligan atmosphere has weakened, but today I feel refreshed, and it is inevitable that the fox's tail is exposed, and it takes the hooligan to walk. Of course, he couldn't do it by grabbing his scalp and digging his nostrils and then a random bounce. This is not the great monk Li Hizi in the inner hall. Why are you here in the outer hall? Cao Muking said with a cynical yin and yang. Seeing the appearance of Cao Muking, the disciples of the outer hall were busy with their own affairs. Although Li Hizi appeared in the outer hall, the real boss was still Cao Muking. Oh, see you. Yekong didn't have the slightest respect on his face, and laughed. Cao, I don't know how to call you old. The repair is that I should call your ancestor, but by generation, you are my sister. Whatever you want. Cao Muking stared. Li Hiza worships Cao Guang as a teacher, and she is Cao Guang's close niece. If she wants to be a senior, she is really a teacher and brother. Then meet sister Cao Shi was proudly taking advantage. Cao Muking was annoyed by the kid kicking his face on his nose, but he also knew that this man was fancy by Cao Guang and several ancestors in Zone, so it was not good and too difficult. Don't talk nonsense. I'm busy. What are you doing here at Sihatang? Cao Muking said shamelessly. Dude, I'm very busy too. Yekong said, I've become a disciple in the inner court, and the miscellaneous service should be handed over, so you should send someone else to manage the little drug garden master. In fact, although Cao Muking hated this blackbird, he also had to admire the person who managed the medicine garden well. In the past few months, not only did the spirit grass and trees die, but even the number has increased, even the hardly flowering maluto. The trees are blooming. This is why Cao Muking has never really dealt with this person. Cao Muking wants him to show himself a medicine garden for a lifetime, but this wish cannot be fulfilled. Cao Muking had to say, come with me, miscellaneous tasks. In fact, where Yekong is well managed by the medicine garden, the key is that he has an interest. Ling Cao is dead, alright. Plant a tree. Sometimes there were several more, and Yekong wasn't interested in those low-level spiritual grasses, so he threw them in the medicine garden for Cao Muking. Cao Muking looked at him with a smile, and was even more angry. He walked to his official desk and sat down sternly, saying coldly, "Bring the disciples of the outer hall to you, I will help you with the task." Oh. After receiving the identity card of the disciple, and eliminating Yekong's miscellaneous service, Cao Muking folded his hands again and opened it again, and the identity card was completely destroyed. In fact, destroying the identity card is not a necessary procedure. Even the identity card can be reserved as a commemoration for the disciples. Just like a real person with a bald eagle, with that identity card, he opened a business in the barbarous city. After destroying the boy's identity card, Cao Muking relieved a lot of hate, so he said, after entering the inner hall and practicing well, "After all, it is the person who went out of the hall, don't lose our face." Yes, Yekong knew that she didn't really care about encouragement, but she just took the form, so she also made a casual response and was ready to retire. Who knew that Cao Muking spoke again and said, "Be nice to Wu Yi. Yekong is depressed. I want you to worry about your hair. If it is a man, it's okay. A woman comes to grab a girl. Do you know that the ratio of male to female is out of proportion?" Of course, Yekong wasn't bothered, because Cao Muking's words had another meaning, that is, "I backhanded that girl, and you won." Thank you, Sister Cao. Yekong thought, if she told Little Pepper, that girl would be completely at ease. Obviously, Cao Muking had a different purpose, nodded, and wanted to say something, but the powdery white and smooth face suddenly had a touch of redness. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 379. School of Peculiarity. Sister Cao, it doesn't matter. You and I are both here, and Li has a very tight population. It will never leak anything. Even if Sister Cao wants to eat meat, Li will also be willing to give. Sister Cao wants to eat or eating below, or eating up and down together is fine. Yeda Rogue encouraged again. How could Cao Muking understand the deep meaning of this idiom, and he gave him a look of anger. What is it? Nonsense, this ancestor has broken the valley many years ago, and what meat to eat? You just eat less meat. Yekong didn't explain, and laughed, just joking, Sister Cao relax and talk about everything. Sure enough, Cao Mu's face was blushing and tweaked under the temptation of somebody, and then she said, "Actually, I want to pass on your family's unique skills." Heirloom, Ye trembled in her heart, saying, "Is it because she knows my 5 elements? No one knows this thing." Looking at the suspicious expression on someone's face, Cao Mu immediately became angry, and the anger rose into the sky. Originally she whispered in shame to ask the boy for the thing, but now it seems that he is nonsense. "Li Hiza. Do you dare to play with me?" Cao Mu shouted sternly, "You are dead. How dare you lie to my ancestors? I must kill you today." Cao Muking was really angry, and she was afraid that the boy would pass it on to her, so when she was in a hurry, she didn't care that the child was fancy by the upper class of zone. Shot. Slow, Yekong came to understand this now, and she dared not to mention the 5 elements and the Immortal Sutra, but the picking up Dafa he had messed up last time. Yekong was a little funny, and she talked casually, but she took it seriously, and now she came to work hard for herself. Unexpectedly, bragging can also bring disaster. Slow, Yekong said with a big hand, blocking Cao Muking. Sister Cao, listen to me. After that, she will fight and kill. Li Mao will accompany you. Speak, Cao Muking shouted, holding a sword that wasn't like a sword, and a cone that didn't look like a cone. Sister Cao, in fact, you are wrong. Li believes that what you need most right now is not a Dafa girl. Yekong secretly held the spring fairy charm in his hands and prepared for it. If Cao Muking really wanted to attack, no wonder he already. What lies are to lie to my ancestors? Cao Muking finally did not attack, she wanted to hear what she needed most. Seeing that the situation had eased, Ye hollowed out, and took the original 5-element ascension from the storage bag, and said, "Sister Cao, this is my family's mastery of learning, picking 108 and XX posture. 19 styles. This book has been continuously developed and enriched by the ancestors of my Li family. It has now become a generation of gods in the Kangnan continent. It is called the contemporary Jade Portuguese group, the modern Jin Pingmei, and the Chinese version of Mrs. Chatal. Love people." Cao Muking heard Yunshan's fog cover and couldn't understand what he said in the end, but listening to his tone, this book is really not good enough, and it is indeed the book he wants. "You didn't lie to me." Cao Muking then withdrew the magic weapon, and looked greedily at the so-called divine book, thinking that after the book was finished reading, he must take the Jade and Portuguese group. He said, "Jin Pingmei, and return. I have also found out what to look for." "Sister, please see." Yekong hurriedly said to come up. Cao Mu was overjoyed. Looking at a black person was like seeing a loved one, but when she turned it over, she was a bit lost. "What kind of text is this? Why don't I know it? If you want to know, I will show the stuffing." Yekong hurriedly said, "Sister Cao, this book is too destructive to women. This book is used to prevent women from harming women by using this book, so this book is written in my Li family's special text, and only those we have learned from childhood understand." Looking at the magic box, Cao Muking was convinced, and the power of the book was even more convinced. "So what if I don't know?" Cao Muking asked. "I am willing to act as an interpreter for my sister." "Hurry up." Cao Muking couldn't wait. Yekong grinned and walked by. If Cao Junfan saw it, he would understand that the boy was going to hurt the man again. The preceding paragraph means something like this: there are no women in the world who can't make it. Many people blame the failure of courtship for various reasons, such as having no money, the other party is so rich, and the other party is ugly. The other party is so beautiful. Yekong stood next to Cao Muking, his mouth babbling, but his eyes moved unceremoniously over Cao Muking's body. Cao Muking was excited for a while, and also paid attention to Yekong's translation, so she didn't pay attention. Let someone have a good eye and smell the body. After listening to Yekong's speech for a while, Cao Muking no longer doubted, surprised, it makes sense. Yekong also said, the author of this book believes that if there is no woman who can't make it, as long as you master the right method, you can make your black chicken become a phoenix, no matter how poor and ugly, you can also chase your love. Yeah, as ugly as you can get Zhang Wei and Huang Zixuan. Yekong is depressed, you are ugly. Lao Tzu is a little bit black at best. Look here. Yekong nodded his finger somewhere on the page. However, his movements were too large, and Cao Muking was alerted. She quickly halted and asked, "Why is this important?" "It's very important," Yekong said again. "Good flowers are worth picking and must be picked." "What do you mean?" Cao Muking asked. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 380. 38. I am Toad. Although Baiji'er was very attractive, Ye was a little upset. Originally, I wanted Baiji'er to manage the cave for him, and to see the medicine garden, but now she has her own business, and she just started. You let her lose her business and weeding and growing vegetables for herself, that's appropriate. Well? After getting along with these days, Yekong felt that Baiji'er was a man who was soft outside and rigid inside. Although she was weak in appearance, she was very assertive. When she fled from the village with her son and opened a small shop in Surabaya, where she was unfamiliar, she could see that she was an idea person. Although Yekong believes that if he asks, Baiji'er will leave the business up the mountain, but Yekong will not do it. Seeing Ye Kong's eyebrows frown, Zhang Wei, who was holding in various bras, seemed to understand something. She came over and asked in a low voice, "Don't tell her about going up the mountain." Looking at Baijier, who was standing on the steps in the store and smiling at her products and shoppers, was a weak Baijier. At this moment, she had a trembling self-confidence. Ye Kong smiled and shook his head. Everyone has their own ideal, maybe not great, or maybe it's worthless to others, but yes, that's their ideal. How cruel it is for others to give up their ideals for themselves. Things, I am only relieved to see Baijier now. Well, that's what it says. Zhang Wei nodded. I thought that if Baijier was allowed to go to Xianxia, it wouldn't matter. If she let her give up her business and go to Dongfu, she wouldn't be justified. However, Zhang Wei was not convinced by the words of a black man. It was not a simple truth. Why did he even talk about ideals? What about your ideals? Zhang Wei laughed and exposed him with a smile, to save all mankind, or to build the largest harem in Kangnan, and collect all kinds of beauties. A black man was stunned. This Cao Muse is really, all these words are told to his apprentices. Isn't this a dismantling of Taiwan? Seeing someone talking, Little Chili fought like a victory, grinned proudly, and snorted, "Toad wants to eat swan meat." Ye Kong laughed and said, "Many girls hate Toad, and dream of meeting the Frog Prince." Actually, they were wrong, they were totally wrong. Toad wants to eat swan meat, which means that they have great ideals, and the frog only knows to sit and watch the sky. If nothing is wrong, why is the master of the world? By contrast, Toad is much stronger than frog. So beauties, you are welcome to marry a toad. Listening to someone's fallacies and heresies, Zhang Wei kicked him and said insincerely, "Who wants to marry you, Toad? Go and go, we buy women's things, don't mix them." A hooligan wanted to make a suggestion, but was pushed relentlessly by the two girls. "Well, I think I saw more bikini girls one day than you have seen in your life. Don't help this expert is not rare." Ye hummed and followed Baijier upstairs. "Ha." Baijier hid her mouth and smiled. "The girl's face is tender, and you are an expert and a man. How can you feel good about buying men's tights in front of a man? It's better to let them choose freely." Ye Kong followed Baijier to a quiet room upstairs, sitting on a mahogany chair in the quiet room, and just through the flower window, she could see the female customers buying clothes below. "Well, this position is good, you can secretly supervise whether the clerk is lazy." Ye Kong de Ma sat down with a golden knife. Baijier laughed. "I also like to sit in this position, but I am not a supervisor, but I feel that this person is coming and going, bustling and laughing, and my sister feels it really." Ye Kong nodded. "It seems you are very happy, good, work hard, and, you just said that you can buy freely. It reminds me of another home sales model, called a supermarket. You can also get one. Xianxia supermarket." "Oh? Supermarket? What's that?" Baijier attached great importance to Ye Kong's suggestion. After all, what he sells here are invented by him. The so-called supermarket is a free-to-buy market. It is different from the counter type you have now. It has no counters, only shelves, and customers can search for them on the shelves themselves. Go to the counter to check out." After Ye Kong finished speaking, Baijier's head shook like anything. This method is novel, and it doesn't work. There are always impure people in the customer. How to deal with it by hand? If there are many people monitoring, then make serious customers unhappy and feel like they are being thieves. Also, if someone deliberately makes troubles, use a pair of dirty hands to come in and grab casually. These are all women's underclothes, and no one buys them. This open sales is not good for inventory. I am afraid that it takes a lot of time every day to count the goods. Ye Kong feels that Baijier also makes sense. After all, this is not the Earth, and there is no high-tech in the Kangnan continent. It seems that it is better to sell at the counter than in a supermarket. Well, I'm just a suggestion. It can be used if it can be used. It doesn't matter if it can't be used. After all, my hometown is very different from here. Yekong talked about his hometown again, and Baijir said with anticipation, no one stole anything and left it. Check it out by yourself. It seems that your hometown is really a desirable place. Yekong shook his head and said, how can there be so good? Human nature is the same everywhere. There are many thieves. Is there really a woman who only wears in-body clothes everywhere? On this issue, Baijir was always worried, and she ran all over the street wearing a bra and that leaky trousers. Oh my god, it's crazy. Think about blushing. Yes, in our case, this is called a bikini girl, and there are special competitions like this. Women are dressed like this. Then they aren't marrying. Baijir couldn't believe it anymore, and the curious beauty eyes stared at the boss. In short, our man's thinking is more avant-garde. Yekikai laughed. Baijir's white face turned red, and she bowed her head and said, it's not your fault. What if you see it? Yekong smiled slightly, and then said, I will soon be retreating. I am afraid that this retreat will take 3 years. I am assured to see you now, so go ahead, and I will give it to Xianxia. Leave enough elixir. Ah, for 3 years of retreat. Baijir stood up in shock, and her beady lips opened round. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 381. Reluctantly. After all, she just enjoyed the joy of having a man. With the support of a man, she also had her own career. But so suddenly, a man will be in retreat for so long, and he won't be willing to change anyone. Rest assured, I will ask Zhongli's brothers to help me in the past 3 years. If you have something to go to Yunfuzong, and, if you meet the right man, you can also. Yekong said something difficult. After all, Baijir really wanted to find other men. Yekong's heart would definitely be uncomfortable. But after all, she is a monk, Baijir is mortal, and more importantly, she has no name or name. As I said before, women in the Kangnan mainland care about fame. But before Yekong's words were finished, Baijir held her lips with her index finger. Baijir said, my son, since I knew you, the slave family saw the bright sky, only to find that life was so promising. The sun is everything of the slave family, and I will never look after any other man. Years. Even 30 years, the slave family also has to wait. The slave family doesn't have any name, even if it is a slave of the male son, as long as the male son remembers to come to see the slave family. Downstairs, Huang Zixuan and Zhang Wei are discussing the color that looks better. I think the red color looks good, Little Pepper insisted. The red color inside you is also red inside. It doesn't look good, it definitely doesn't look good. Huang Zixuan shook his head. Zhang Wei said, another advantage of the same color inside and out is that you can't see the inside from the outside. Otherwise, if the outer clothes are thinner, those men's eyes don't know how poisonous they are, they will see it. Huang Zixuan chuckled, the eyes of those men are no longer poisonous, aren't they anymore? Zhang Wei seemed to think of something, and flushed, shouting, his big hooligan. Huang Zixuan asked with a smirk, what? What happened to him? Could it be? Zhang Wei was so ashamed to hammer Huang Zixuan and scolded, don't talk nonsense. Death girl, don't be afraid to hear. The two laughed for a while, and Zhang Wei found out that a black man had disappeared. What about the sunspots? Why not call him and listen to his suggestions? Although 8 of his 10 sentences are unreliable, there are 2 more sentences that are of reference value. Zhang Wei looked around and said, you still overestimate him. I see, only 10 sentences of his words can be believed if a black man is sure to be angry. Lao Tzu's integrity is so bad. Although the black people's credibility is bad, after all, there are still valuable things. The two girls asked the clerk, "Where has your boss gone?" "Looks like it's on the second floor." "Then I'll call him. You are watching here, don't let the ones we fancy be bought by others," Huang Zixuan said to Zhang Huiyi and ran to the second floor. Soon, Huang Zixuan asked the owner's quiet room. The monk's ears were much more sensitive than ordinary people. Huang Zixuan stood at the door and heard the sound of eating inside. "All right. Dead spot. Hiding here to steal good food." Huang Zixuan thought angrily, and when he had an idea in his heart, "Brother, he's a like to lie, and I grabbed you. See how you deny it?" Ye Kong didn't expect anyone outside. He walked outside constantly, so he didn't have time to listen with his ears open. "He is busy." Bai Jie looked up at Ye Kong with white eyes, and laughed and said, "Isn't the slave family talking? Let you remember your sister's good, don't forget your sister when you retreat." Ye Kong lovingly caressed Bai Jie's smooth Yufa, and lowered his head and smiled, "You don't understand this. During the retreat, you concentrate on cultivation. 1.5 years passed after one sitting. For the monk, 3 it's just a short time before the blink of an eye, how can you forget it so quickly?" Outside the quiet room, the small door was opened with a finger-wide gap, and a black eye looked in.